understanding global economic trends. We are excited to partner with Ebury, a leader in supporting businesses with international payments and FX risks management. Today, we have three experts from Ebury who will share their insights. So, Adam Slosho, Senior Head of Sales Desk at Ebury, responsible for innovation, technology, and software clients, Andrzej Dub, FX dealer at Ebury, and Michał Jóźwiak, market analyst at Ebury. We'll also have a Q&A session following the second presentation, so feel free to submit your questions through the event in YouTube. You can comment in it, and I will ask our speakers all interesting issues you're asking about. So let me quickly walk you through today's agenda. First, Adam Slosho will discuss how to effectively manage international payments and FX risks, make a short introduction. Then Andrzej Dub will provide an overview of Ebury's client service model with a special focus on the Ukrainian market, and his presentation will be in Ukrainian. We will follow up this up to Q&A session, and after that, Michał Jóźwiak will conclude the webinar with a deep dive into macroeconomic and currency forecast for the United States, Europe, and United Kingdom markets. So let's start with Adam Slosho, the Senior Head of Sales Desk at Ebury, who works closely with innovation, technology, and software clients. Adam, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Andrzej. Welcome, everyone. We are more than happy to be here with you guys. It's our first webinar, first meeting, first event. I hope one of the whole long list that we'll have in the future with IT Ukraine. We became the member of IT Ukraine in May, so this year. So this is first step for us to get together. As Andrzej said, we here, me, myself, Andrzej, Michał, and other members of our team work closely with servicing IT software technology companies, everyone that focuses on the business with international skill, looking at the global opportunities and facing global problems in the area of FX, foreign exchange, international payments. Today, I'll try to go with you and with my colleagues through this let's say, stormy areas, probably for some of you. In order to present you our experiences, I think that it would be worth to say that until now we service here in Warsaw, which is our Central European hub, out of which we cover both Central Europe, like also the Baltic countries, and now Ukraine. We work closely with around 50 IT/software houses, and we also, this number includes some Ukrainian companies as well. I hope we'll have a chance to meet more often. So after this small introduction, let me share with you our presentation. I will start from the agenda. The agenda will be the first point on the agenda will be a small introduction, just a couple of slides on what is actually Ebury. Ebury is a fintech. How our business model looks like, it differs far more from traditional banking. So it's worth to take a look at this so you know with whom you interact here. Then in point two, we'll try to take you through or list with you together with you through some couple of slides on the challenges, problems, and issues that typically IT companies face when going international, which is obviously not the only natural way to grow for this business. In the point three, I thought of putting together a list of around 7 questions, which should be, from my point of view, from my humble experience, should be something that each and every manager of IT companies should ask himself when he's trying to really develop his business internationally. And we'll try to answer these questions, of course, together. And also a very interesting part of it will be point 4, when we'll share with you 5 business examples, business cases, real life from the last 12 months that me and my colleagues face in the segment of software and IT. And as Andrzej said, after you will have a chance for a Q&A session, there will be Michał, our analysts, macroeconomic analysts, with the latest news from the main markets of your interest, so United States, United Kingdom, and the European Union, with some numbers and forecasts. Before we go to the agenda, I wanted to put forward a thesis, which you might agree with or not. Let's see. Let me quote that. A well-designed and effective payment architecture, as well as FX currency management, can help the company win new business, increase sales with existing clients, improve and protect profit margins, and increase the overall value of the company. I'll try to prove that this is right. Maybe it would be good for everyone on this call to just come back to this thesis afterwards, reconsider this, and just let us know whether you agree or not. Let's see what will happen. Ebury is a fintech. Just a few words about ourselves, who we are. It's a private company until now, set up in 2009. Ebury is just the name of a street where our founders have met in London, Ebury Street. From that moment on, we really grew significantly to the global international level. We have 38 offices. We are in 25 countries with full regulation. We are part of the Santander Group, but we are not a banking institution. We are not the banking part of Santander Financial Holding. We're in technology part of it. And we are indeed also a technology company. That's why I always put this number forward, because out of the 1,700 employees, we have almost 400 IT engineers on board. So this is not a typical IT support only. We are really a technological software house working mostly for itself for now. But this is why I think that we have a common ground for understanding things with you guys, with software industry. We are our main investor is Banco Santander Financial Holding, who invested in 2019 350 million euros in Ebury for 50% of shares. Now we plan IPO on the main market of the London Stock Exchange next year. Just a few words on the boring stuff, but important. So regulation and safeguarding of funds. So we work in the European Union and also here in Warsaw on the basis of the National Bank of Belgium in International Payment Institution license. This license has a format of electronic money license institution. This is the same as Revolut, as any other fintechs more or less around the globe. The basics of this, the foundation and the basic of this regulation is the rule of segregating of funds. So our business model looks like we borrow the account infrastructure, IBAN infrastructure numbers from the respectful banks like Barclays, Citibank, ABN AMRO, all of those listed here. So they always must be the best banks by the credit quality, so the safest one. And we put on the top of this our systems, our cash management platforms, our agreements, and we use the infrastructure accounts to handle cash and funds that you give us for doing something, for payments, for collections, for foreign exchange. The reason for that is that these funds, so clients' funds, from my point of view, are always separated and safeguarded from my own money. So the private funds of Ebury can never be commingled at the same accounts, and this is a regulatory rule which gives us a new the safety net of funds. They always remain on the good banks' accounts. Now, we are, of course, regulated in certain different locations around the globe according to our map. Let me scroll further. This is what we do. We open accounts for our clients. We do international payments out of these accounts, almost in every currency that you can settle. We do collections for this account. This will be interesting part in business cases. We'll come back to that. We do, and this is our core business, currency risk hedging or foreign exchange risk management hedging. This is actually my experiences. This is my profession. I'm a foreign exchange dealer since 1997, believe it or not, 27 years, but I'm still doing the job, so I know something about this as well as my colleagues. We do trade finance. We finance the companies. We also have a special line of services for e-commerce industry. As said, this is not to be a sales presentation. This is educational part that we are moving on. So let me cut it short. The last slide on Ebury from my side is the map of our presence in a way of where we open collection accounts for our clients. In each and every country here that is listed and that is on the map, when you become our clients, we can open for you a collection account with your individual name of your company and an individual IBAN number to collect funds, which obviously makes things easier for a globally managed company. Now, I will give my voice to Andrzej to present you in a little bit more practical way our business model. So Andrzej, please take it over and tell our guests how we do it on a daily basis.
Sure. Thank you, Адам. Доброго дня, колеги. Тут буде частина солов'їною. Мене звати Андрій. Я є валютним експертом або валютним ділером в Ebury, де, як підмітив Адам, ми спеціалізуємось на наданні унікальних фінансових рішень для бізнесу. Базуючи на цьому слайді, я би хотів дуже коротко показати вам декілька цікавих продуктів і сервісу, який може допомогти вам при виході на нові ринки, чи також пришвидшити роботу, наприклад, з платежами. Отже, я би почав з нашої платформи. Тобто Ebury має свою унікальну платформу, можна сказати, це Ebury Online Cash Management. Я би це описав дуже коротко. Це інструмент для такого зручного управління вашими фінансами в міжнародному масштабі. Тобто ця платформа дозволяє вам ефективно здійснювати конвертацію валют. Платформа підтримує до 130 валют світу, керувати вашими рахунками, які ми якраз таки відкриваємо в понад 20 країнах на різних континентах, проводити платежі чи, наприклад, мінімізовувати валютні ризики. Тобто, з такого з практичної точки зору, можу сказати, що маючи одну платформу, логуючись одним логіном, ви маєте можливість керувати всіма вашими рахунками в різних країнах чи континентах, конвертувати валюти, чи відкривати наступні рахунки, чи проводити платежі в рамках однієї платформи, логуючись одним логіном. Тобто, наприклад, маючи компанії в різних юрисдикціях, вам не потрібно мати декілька банківських платформ, щоб, наприклад, проводити валютні операції. Ви підключаєте ці компанії на платформі і, логуючись на неї, вибираєте відповідно до якої компанії хочете проводити чи платежі, чи, наприклад, валютні операції. Ще один важливий момент – це, напевно, буде сервіс Dealing Room, такий ваш особистий експерт. Скажу чесно, що Ebury дуже сильний акцент ставить на сервіс, на таку опіку над своїми клієнтами. Що це означає? Ми надаємо кожному індивідуального експерта, тобто валютного ділера, який знає ваш бізнес, який розмовляє зручною вам мовою, допомагає вам в таких щоденних, не знаю, технічних питаннях, чи теж може вас проконсультувати з якихось питань валютних операцій. Тобто це людина, яка постійно моніторить, не знаю, для вас ситуацію на ринку, може для вас зробити якийсь платіж, якщо, наприклад, ви поза системою, тобто не маєте доступу до платформи. Тому ви отримаєте не лише продукт, як цю платформу, а й постійного партнера, який вам допомагає приймати рішення, можна сказати, деколи, що безпосередньо можуть впливати на успіх вашої компанії. Ще один момент, напевно, теж дуже важливий – це процес онбордингу, тобто як почати співпрацювати. Можу сказати, що він дуже простий і зручний, він базується передусім на нашому досвіду роботи, так, з IT-компаніями, де бувають складні структури, де прості. Наш онбординг повністю відбувається онлайн, він, само собою, він є безплатний, і, відповідно, це триває близько 70 днів від моменту, коли фірма заповнює з нами форму для співпраці. Після цього ми вам надаємо доступи, ви отримуєте відповідно цього експерта і можете почати співпрацювати. Так, на закінчення теж якби цієї теми я би сказав, що ми стараємось і будуємо такі довгострокові партнерські відносини. Ми хочемо бути вашим партнером бізнесу, допомагати виходити на нові ринки. Для цього є теж відповідні інструменти. Адам теж про них згадував. Тому якщо у вас виникнуть якісь додаткові питання або ви бажаєте дізнатись більше, то я чи наші валютні експерти, у нас є ціла команда з 10 людей, ми завжди до ваших послуг. So Adam, I'm now passing the floor to you.
Okay, thank you. I think that my Ukrainian is getting better and better because I understood a lot, and I only can underline one thing, that contrary to different new technology, financial institutions, and at Ebury, you're never left only with the machine. There's always a human element, a person with the name and the number that you can talk to. All right, let's move on to the core of our presentation. So to the challenges in international trade, FX, and settlements. I think that why I decided to work closely with software IT technology industry at Ebury, because it's worth to note that we work with different industries, of course, but this is the closest to my heart, because as said, you are a technological company. To very much extent, Ebury is also a technological company, but also the problems that you're facing are really international, if not global. We had a good overview of Polish IT market, which is pretty similar, even by numbers, to Ukrainian ones. So the total exports of the Polish IT companies is around 7 to 8 billion euros. It's exactly the same number as IT Ukraine. The structure of the size of the companies is a little bit different. That comes from some historical facts. But the thing is that in each and every situation, either Polish, either Ukrainian, the bulk of the revenues comes from abroad, from foreign countries, in foreign countries. And you, when developing the company, developing this business, you will face all of these problems that we are trying to list here for you and answer. So first of all, this is, let's say, a small graph that shows the challenges and how they grow when you internationalize your trade. So you can imagine starting in Ukraine some time ago, many years ago, and selling to first local clients, and possibly settling the payments through the local bank account and in the same currency, in hryvnia, and this was nothing more that you needed. This was enough. Then if you move to Europe, then suddenly you need to find the first solutions for European settlements, for European funds collections, possibly for new currencies, for the exchange management. For that, you could still use your local bank, but more often the companies are deemed to look for the new partners. And then if you move on to the more distant markets, if you move on to exotic markets, like emerging markets of Asia, Africa, Latam at the end, then this needs get only more complex, and you usually need more partners, and sometimes the number of these partners grew exponentially, and it's hard to put this all together, hard to manage this all area of settlements, foreign exchange in an effective way. This is the typical, let's say, basics for the problems that we could get at least more precise. Let's see, this is just a slide on, let's say, the evolution of the financial service providers and where we are right now in this whole ecosystem. Traditionally, before, say, 2008, we had commercial banks and traditional financial companies on the left-hand side of the slide. From that moment on, above the technological changes, mainly the cloud, plus the regulations that first were created in European Union and later copy-paste in the other jurisdictions, they gave the possibility for financial technological company to pop up. Neobanks, Paytech, LeatherTech, etc., payment institutions, electronic money institutions. Sometimes these names just mean the same, but this is all the new world that emerged and that the global company, internationally skewed company, must take into account just because their services became more efficient than the traditional banking institutions. What can be the typical list of problems? I prepared a few slides in a couple of areas. I think this list is not complete. You probably talking to me could list even more, but let's just spend a second on mentioning the most important problems here. So first of all, high transaction costs. If you go abroad, if you move your business to unknown jurisdictions, your fees and commissions are getting higher because you just at the beginning, when you win the contract abroad with a foreign client, you are not that concentrated on how efficiently to bring the money back to my headquarter accounts. It's just importantly to find some sort of solution. Some sort of solutions is usually not the most effective one. So the costs are going up. These are the costs for payments, for collections, also for foreign exchange, when sometimes the spreads on the exchange of one currency to another are just too high versus where they should be when being well monitored and well considered. Sometimes you need to agree for the beginning for some forced currency conversions, which are the most costly way of handling money internationally. But these are the usual problems that the company growing abroad faces at the beginning. Moving on, the equally difficult, or even sometimes more difficult problems that you face, especially with Ukrainian background, which is not understood by all international financial institutions equally. And I already received this information from your colleagues from other Ukrainian IT companies that big banking conglomerates, the global banks, don't necessarily want to work with Ukrainian companies, or if even they agree, they are putting some demands, some documentary barriers, and making the whole process of onboarding, opening accounts at the given institution, a very long-lasting, a very time-consuming, and a very complex. Sometimes when you manage to open accounts and you start doing trades, payments, collections, you are faced with sudden issues when the banking institution can stop your payments or can freeze your accounts. This is usually associated with anti-money laundering regulations or credit fraud detection regulations, and all of these policies are not something you cannot take into account. So the good partner that will explain you how to behave, how to understand those policies, how not to be afraid of it, and how to go through that is really valuable. This is what I think should be also considered by you when entering the new markets. Operational risks, of course, with more and more multiple partners that you open for different areas of geographical presence with your business and payments and settlements. This makes your operational risk go up. First of all, if you work suddenly with 10 banks around the globe, you have multiple access rights, you have multiple tokens, you have accounting problems to put this all together. And I can tell you that we as Ebury people, we work in the company that was actually created because of that reason. Let me bring back a little bit of a history. So historically, our founder, before Ebury, he was successful with the marketing company that used to sell tracking codes, first marketing tracking codes around 2005, and later around the globe. And he was successful. He was selling to circa 50 countries. He had like 60 banks. Out of every $100 of payment that he should receive, he was left with 80. So he started asking himself, what's going on, right? The costs are too high. And this is how Ebury was created. and Ebury is now far bigger business of our founder than the original one. Foreign exchange and of receivables and liabilities. Of course, in order to be successful on a given, sometimes faraway markets, you start using different currencies, and not only the main ones, which are not often as easy as you can see. So euro, dollar, sterling, but sometimes you need to invoice your client in the local currency of the given country where you sell in order to win the contract. And then it's another bulk of problems: how to handle transactional costs, simple ones, so pricing on spots on FX conventions, how to control your foreign exchange exposure, how to protect your profit margin for the services and goods that you sell, which are priced in different currency than your original cost currency. So all of these questions, all of these issues, all of these problems, you guys probably face when entering new markets. And if you want to grow, and definitely everyone wants to grow, this will only go up. So let's now try to find a list of questions that, as said, I think that every management in an IT company which plans multinational sales should ask themselves and try to analyze, and possibly, of course, at the end, try to find the right answer to these questions. So first, what should I do in an area of collection of funds when I'm selling abroad? What does it mean? I can sell from my headquarters, be it Ukraine, be it Warsaw, and I can invoice my clients in euro, in dollars, send them invoice and tell them, okay, pay me to my bank account in my country. Easy, supposedly easy. No need to open foreign subsidiaries to hold accounts abroad. Easy to manage from operational point of view because the accountant and the financial manager has access only to one bank, one login. Consolidated accounts are always there, so it looks easy. But there are certain disadvantages. So first of all, the cost and time of payment. The most important payment system in the world, the most popular one, SWIFT. This is old school payment system, by the way. It's costly. If you have bigger amounts as a one-off payment, it doesn't maybe, the cost is not maybe that significant. But if you are invoicing in a more granulated invoices, like say $3,000, and the cost of the payment can be $30, that right away is 1%. 1% of the potential profit that you leave at the bank or in the SWIFT system, in the SWIFT corresponding system. It doesn't necessarily must be the case. There are solutions to avoid this. Long time, minimum T plus 2, so 2 working days, but sometimes longer. Sometimes you need to look for your money, look for your payments sent by your clients, but you didn't receive them. And you need to call the banks on the side of your client, the payer, or on your side, the receiver, and try to find the money where they are in the correspondent banking systems. And it's usually a hell of a job. You probably know how difficult it is from your practice. Those of you who have touched this area in practice. Forced currency conversions. This is really a nightmare because these institutions, the banking institutions, sometimes can receive dollars and book this on your account and you don't know why. But the conversion margin is usually automatical of 5-7%, sometimes even more, and it's very difficult to unwind. This is how the traditional domestic collection solution looks like. Advantages and disadvantages. Please consider yourself what you would prefer. Foreign collection. Foreign collection has, again, advantages and disadvantages. There are 2 ways to collect internationally. First, which is an advantage but a big disadvantage at the same time, you need to open a subsidiary abroad. What does it mean? You need to spend money. You need to register the company abroad. You need to put some capital there. You need to allocate some manager to be the main person behind it. You need to watch your overseas business. These are all costs. They can be, well, reasonably cheap in certain countries, but if you want to go to main financial hubs and the most important markets for IT business, like for example United States, United Kingdom, then the cost of setting up a subsidiary can be around, I don't know, $300,000 at least. So a lot of money, and this is just the beginning. And at the time to obtain the account at the bank is usually more than 9 to 12 months. But there are, of course, the advantages. You can invoice your clients, putting the local bank account abroad of your subsidiary and receive payments over there. Your client is paying quickly. Usually it's a local payment system, same-day settlement. Costs are ridiculously low, so it improves your capital turnover. You don't have to look for your money in international correspondent banking systems. And also having an account abroad gives you a positive reputational effect. So you are there in the country. But of course, as said, the costs are there. There are ways of mixing the two, finding the advantages. And this is the fintech solution, where, as said at the beginning, one of the introductory slides, you can open accounts in more than 20 jurisdictions. This is at least Ebury, but there are other fintechs as well, of course. And you can open the collection accounts in the good banks abroad with your name on it, without bearing the whole costs and the whole disadvantages of the solution here presented. So this is the second question, which the management should ask themselves. My best answer to that would be use the bank for more local payments, like, pay for your payroll, pay for the payroll to your people, pay for costs of leasing, for the cost of office, anything like that. But for more international actions and operations, definitely look for something more elastic and more efficient than the local banking settlements. Let's move on. What kind of payment solution or system should I use to collect incoming payments? Traditional ones, SWIFT, SEPA, everyone knows the standard offered by most of the banks and payment institutions, and they are also sometimes usually easy to track, especially if you use the SWIFT GPI. This is kind of monitoring where the money is in the international correspondent banking. Not everyone offers that. Ebury offers that, but the SWIFT is costly. And SEPA is cheap, but SEPA usually the settlement can take longer than a couple of days, so it's not an ideal proposition as well. But there are different possibilities. So the whole world of payment services providers. This is not what we do. These are payment gates. This is not Ebury. We are the payment institution. We use accounts to settle the payments between the counterparties, but we are not the payment gates. So here you can, when entering a new market, instead of just invoicing the client and telling him pay me in SWIFT, you can instead of set yourself a PSP payment gate. This is usually faster, definitely lower cost. But there are also some sort of problems, usually arising around the access to the company, which is the payment services providers. You cannot negotiate with them. It's really difficult to find some sort of relationship kind of attitude that the traditional banking is offering to you. Ebury finds itself somewhere in the middle. That's what I can say. Okay, another question. What kind of payment solution or system should I use to collect incoming payments? Again, this is the third version, cards. Easy to use for the client, good for small graduated payments and e-commerce, but the costs are the highest one, and the forced currency conversions are definitely there. You cannot avoid them, and no possibility to negotiate fees and commissions. So these are the set of questions around, to summarize, should I collect domestically or should I collect abroad? Should I look for the foreign kind of fintech solution or should I use the bank? should I use the traditional SWIFT, or should I use the new modern payment services providers and fintech? And again, as I said before, for the simple local, maybe not too geographically too far away settlements, banks are all right. If you can also have your relationship manager in a bank and negotiate good pricing, this is not a bad idea. But if you go more far away, if you are entering new markets, definitely look for alternative solutions. This will only support your possibilities and make your payments and costs more efficient. Now we come to the currencies world right now. So important. Many people are afraid of it, but this is really interesting, and I always look at this part as a way also to support the growth of sales of your companies. First of all, of course, every one of us is mostly using euro, dollars, maybe sterling, maybe Swiss franc to settle the payments. So you invoice your clients in these currencies. Okay, for the client on the other side, if he's from a big international corporation, which generally have different currencies on their accounts, this is irrelevant. They have euro, they have dollars, they have sterling. They can pay you in any currency you invoice them. If you, on the other hand, go to a more local client, which doesn't have these balances in different currencies, that the question whether I should invoice my client in euro or dollar, or maybe in his local currency. Local doesn't mean exotic. Local can be sterling, local can be Swiss franc, local can be Polish zloty, local can be Swedish krona or Norwegian krona, very good markets for it as well. Of course, with all the conglomerate of exotic currencies. These considerations are very important because they can, when you become a little bit more open-minded for local currency settlement and be not afraid of it, it can open you new possibilities to win the new contracts and win new clients. I'm always saying, do not change the pattern of invoicing your clients, but show them the invoice in the local currency next to the current invoicing in the main currency. For example, you're invoicing your clients in Sweden in euro. Show them the same pricing or the same invoice in Swedish krona, but try to add up 1% more on Swedish krona invoice and check what they will do. I can guarantee you that in many cases, they will accept still the Swedish krona settlement, despite the fact that this settlement peer-to-peer is 1% more expensive than the euro settlement or the euro pricing. Why? Because they have also costs on their side. So they need to buy euro to pay you euro for their own currency, Swedish krona. And I'm deliberately using the Swedish case because the exchange rate margins in Swedish krona in Sweden are generally significantly higher than in continental Europe. This is because there are only three main banks in this market, and they just keep the market very close. So this is something that can really bring you new business. If you go to exotic locations, these considerations become even more important. I had a client which was a software house, which was invoicing like 50% of their sales, which was a couple of $1 million equivalent in Omani dinar. Different currency, difficult currency, of course, but the client was a local network of medical institutions. So this institution was kind of state-owned. They didn't have access to main currencies at all. They couldn't buy euro or dollars to pay my client. So we set up the account to collect in Omani dinar and exchanges to the main currencies with pre-agreed and controlled profit margins. So they kept the contract. They kept the contract on the table, and they start making money on it. So this is really part of considerations and and problems that we can really get engaged with into conversation with you and show you all those local peculiarities. I'll show you also this a little bit in the end of my presentation when we'll be taking a look at the business cases. Okay. Yeah, this one we had advantages, disadvantages, main currencies, local currencies. Just I think that everything that I mentioned. One more thing important. Probably some of you would say, okay, but it's good to have a new contract in the local currency, but then I, as a software house, receive this local currency, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't understand the risk. I don't know how this currency is behaving. And again, here you have the need for the for counterparty, financial specialists like ourselves to tell you how to handle these risks, how to manage this foreign exchange risk or local currencies, especially that we are able to hedge around the risk on around 60 currencies, so probably everything that is hedgeable currently around the world. All right, let's move on. Should I hedge my FX risk? Okay, this question is interesting because this is for Ebury the main part of its operations, is hedging FX risks. It's advising people how to manage FX risks, but as said, to protect FX margins, but also to win the new business in a safe way. So hedging advantages obviously are really important, are really significant. So hedging would protect your profit margins by lowering the volatility of the fluctuations or volatility or fluctuations of the exchange rate of the currency that you receive from your foreign markets. That all, when being translated on a fixed and guaranteed exchange rate by hedging transactions, allows you for better investment, for better financial planning, building better compensation plans. I had a call this year from one of my friends from a big, from the branch of big French IT conglomerate, which says, okay, could you talk to my CFO? Here's the contact, because we had our bonuses, sales bonuses, cut this year because of the movement in euro-zloty exchange rate. So salespeople sold when they did what they did. They did their plans, but when translating the revenues in foreign currency into the local one, it occurred that the revenues are far lower, like 10% lower. Then they just being cut their bonuses. So this FX risk can emerge in actually every aspect of the life of your company. I would say, coming back to this thesis that I put forward at the beginning, that also banking institution or funds, that if you have investors from the funds world, they really like controlling, managing this area, because they like the forecasts to be more precise versus the reality, and this is what hedging does. Better reputation among the clients. If you show that your cash flow is steady, is not volatile because of the volatility of the currencies that you receive, your clients believe, and they're right, that your business is better run, that you take care of also of this part, that you're financially sound and you can fulfill your obligation. Disadvantages, of course, there's always some cost of hedging transactions, but I think that there's so many institutions accessible on the market that you can just take one or two and find the right solution. Definitely you need your company to be in good shape. So there's some sort of credit standing that we look at, as we or other financial institutions when entering into this transaction must be there. And sometimes you need to think of, or you would be advised, at least by us, to introduce some FX risk management procedure. We call it foreign exchange management policy. Big word, but it can be just a set of 10, 12 rules that you stick to when handling your FX risk management if it really gets bigger. All right, I think this was it. I will now go to the last part of my presentation. I think we are on time. We should end this part before 4 p.m. as planned. Business cases. This is really what happened, and I will start from US-Canada collection business case with FX hedging. Actually, all of these business cases will be to a certain extent pretty similar. They will be based on how to find a right way to effectively and cheaply collect funds in different markets, which I, as a company, don't know yet, and I don't have the subsidiary over there, and I don't know how to behave in settling this funds to my headquarters, and with the part of FX hedging, so protecting the profit margins. This was a Polish company. This was one of my clients, innovative virtual reality technology, binoculars. They start selling successfully. It was a small company. Start selling successfully in the US and Canada, and they opened the collection accounts. And this was really the best they could do, mostly because the reputational effect. Of course, there were economical ones. They were receiving dollars and Canadian dollars in the local payment system of these countries within the same day. The payment cost for the payer was really nothing in comparison to SWIFT. But the most important thing here was reputational effect, because they were really small company. I can tell you that when we started, the annual sales volume was more or less 3 million euro equivalent. So for the big corporations, technology corporations, they start selling the innovative tools too. They were really small. They're more than small. They're a small company from faraway country, and suddenly they put the information on their settlements accounts, and they offering paper, and they put the contact address and the account number, so prefix US, and then there was a Citibank account number, individual one for this company with the name of this company on it. So the clients of them, the big companies, said, okay, maybe it's a small company, but they can afford something which is really rare, an account in the financial hub of Wall Street in New York, in Citibank, one of the best banks in the world. And this is something which really made their reputational pretty good. Let's move on. This is an interesting case that I also like, because that commingles 4 countries at least, with the problems in every element, every area, and every aspect of it. So what's the business of the company? The business of the company was actually a software house, but mostly producing a simple marketing application to be sold on marketplace and in e-shops in Europe, in United States, Europe, and UK. They were selling on marketplaces. On part of those marketplaces, they faced the forced conversions, or even if they negotiated the conversion of the currencies, it was done at the pretty high profit spread for the bank. So what the marketplaces very often do, they look from what country you are. You are from Poland. Okay, so despite the fact that we collect from you on the marketplace and through our PSP in euro or in dollars, but we'll exchange you the hard currency, dollars or euro, into Polish zloty, and you can do nothing with on this unless you're really big. This company was not small, by the way. The annual revenues of 30 million hard currency, 30 million euro equivalent. They were charged like a couple of percentage points spread. It was really, really high. On the other hand, like 50% of the costs were done by the partners in India. So they hired some IT specialists in India to produce more or less 50% of the content for them. And here it was even worse, because they tried to pay dollars into India, but because India is really a very difficult currency area, they were again forced to be charged 8% for the simple exchange of dollars into Indian rupee. And again, they were trying to contact Indian bank. They were trying to negotiate. They couldn't reach out to anyone over there. Do it or leave it was the answer. So what we did, we just opened again collection accounts. The functionality of these ones, marketplaces is interesting because if you open an account in dollar, if you set up a dollar account trying to switch the dollar account to marketplace, but the dollar account was from Polish banks, they don't see it as a dollar account at all. They convert the dollars into Polish zloty, but when we open them accounts in dollars in United States, in Citibank, they suddenly recognize, okay, this is dollar accounts, so we will not be doing this forced conversions, and suddenly the company starts receiving dollars for dollars. It was converting this into the cost currencies, of course, but at the negotiated far better exchange rate conditions than before. Again, with India, we did the same. We managed to trade dollar in Indian rupee directly at the lower margin. So very complex, very interesting case. It took a year to almost 9 months to introduce, but it was very, very interesting. UK collection business. Again, same story. I'll not be receiving myself, but I want to mention the UK market because I know that for many of you, it might be one of the most interesting directions when you sell. And in the United Kingdom, because it's our home country as a company, we are the members of the so-called Faster Payments system. Faster Payments is like super fast local settlement system which settle payments within seconds, and the cost of payment is less than 15 pence, I guess, so not even one sterling. And you can just open this account in Barclays UK with your name on it and easily receive sterling from your clients. Obviously, hedging FX risk in sterling is not a problem versus most of the currencies. So definitely something to look at. Of course, the reputational effect, again, it always works. Scandinavian collection business case. I already mentioned Scandinavian with you. This was, again, Polish IT software house, being the member actually of the biggest Sweden holding, but managing itself independently. And what they did exactly what I told you before. At the beginning, they were invoicing euro. We advised them to start showing the offer, the pricing in local currency. It occurred that even with the additional slightly higher price on the Swedish krona invoice, the client, the payer, accepted to pay in the local currency, Swedish krona, because the cost of the transactional cost of exchanging euro to Swedish krona to euro was high enough, plus the foreign exchange risk that the payer was carrying by paying or agreeing to pay in euro instead of Swedish krona was significant enough to tell them we want to pay you in Swedish krona. Of course, hedging Swedish krona versus Polish zloty, interesting case, interesting hedging strategy, but we do it pretty much often. And last case, which I wanted to show you, is exotic one, Brazil. Brazil is a crazy world of settlements, payments, and foreign exchange. This is one of the most difficult areas from this financial point of view for any kind of business. On the other hand, there's a population of more than 200 million people with also pretty modern interests. Here we had the case of the Polish company, but registered in Hong Kong, which is selling the let's say digital entertainment gaming codes to many users around the world. And they find out that Brazil is kind of a gap on the map. They start selling over there, but they couldn't repatriate the funds. So because in Brazil, you cannot easily buy dollars and send them abroad because they have currency restrictions, because the whole balance of payment of this country is in problem for many, many years. So the central bank does not allocate enough hard currency to the users to be easy for them to buy dollars or buy euro and send them for goods or services that they buy. So everyone that wants to operate on this market must consider invoicing and collecting in Brazil or in Brazilian real, which is not easily convertible into hard currencies, but we can do it. We can do it through our Brazilian connections. We had a bank there called Iberia Bank, and with all the licenses from the central bank and direct access to the funding from the central bank. So this is it from my side. I wanted to thank you very much at this moment for your attention. I don't know if there are any question marks. Then you can always ask us here or later. And thank you very much again.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Andrzej. I don't see any extra questions, but I have one personally from me. Actually, you already mentioned this during your presentation, but could you maybe underline what are the most common challenges businesses face when they manage international payments and how they can overcome them, especially in the Ukrainian situation? When there are a lot of different national restrictions connected with the payments in foreign currencies abroad in different quantities, different sums. So maybe you could underline some key, and maybe you could also share your experience how the companies could solve them.
Right. Of course, the Ukrainian situation is unique and it's uniquely difficult. Obviously, you're in a situation whereby the foreign financial institutions look at the Ukrainian companies not too good. They think, okay, we don't want to do it. Why? It's not that they couldn't settle your trades, that they couldn't service you, but they prefer to do something standard. Because everything that goes in a big global bank, everything is very huge. Every processes are huge. They are planned and designed for big volumes of transactions, which must be standardized. Once something goes out of the standard, that creates the need at the costs to do something for certain maybe amount of revenue for the bank, but a lot of work and a lot of costs. That's why they the first reason, economical one, why they don't want to do it. The other one is obviously arising from the compliance regulations and anti-money laundering. Not every institution, not every regulatory institution understand that you can unwrap certain documents, that you can check the companies, that you can check that this is a decent company, not doing anything bad, not doing frauds or money laundering. I can tell you that we understand this. We had the case of the big Ukrainian company that we service here since a year in Warsaw, where the ownership structure was very, very, very complex with some funds on the funds and on the funds, etc. And our onboarding colleagues managed to just make an open discussion with the client on this. So I can guarantee you that this is the first area of the problems, to answer your question, that you should consider when going abroad. Another one is to definitely find a location, be it, I don't know, Poland, be it Western Europe, be it UK. Maybe I would not advise Dubai, or the Emirates, although it's easier, but again, it's not compliance-wise that easy if you want to then sell to the States or to other, let's say, Western locations. So it's better to think of setting up at least a small entity abroad. The one that could still thinking about your Kiev locations or Lviv locations as a headquarter, operational like production hubs, but having a sort of an entity that will handle your financial settlements, that will be your treasury and funding and settlement headquarter. And looking at those two elements, I think that the most important thing is to find a partner, or maybe even partners, because it's sometimes better to have to have two than one, to be on the safe side, that would understand that and that have solution for that. And the last element of it, of course, is currency risk, as usual. The currency market, as you all know, because you probably see it on your accounts, is so volatile that it can eat up over the year up to 10% of your potential revenues. And this will not change because there's so many factors around the globe that can influence the foreign currency market, as geopolitical risks right now arising from the Middle East conflict. Just to give you this reason, there will be even more. So the currency risk will not disappear at all. This would be my advice to all of you guys.
Okay, thank you, Adam. Thank you very much for your answer, informative answer, and also thank you for sharing such great cases in cooperation with exotic markets like even Omani, because several companies now also are looking deeply into Gulf region, and I'm for sure they are facing those problems with currency, with transactions. So it was nice to hear, and I hope it will be helpful for our companies, for our listeners. Now, as I see, we don't have any extra questions. I would like to go to our another speaker to conclude our presentations, and I'm pleased to introduce Michał Jóźwiak, market analyst at eBury, and Michał will provide a comprehensive information about macroeconomic and currency forecasts of key regions. So, Michał, please, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So let me share the presentation that I'll use today for a meeting, which will concentrate on G3 currencies. Those are, of course, currencies are most used by most of our clients, particularly clients from Ukraine. So we'll be going through the second part of the presentation called Global Insights and Financial Strategies, Economic Focus and International Payments Mastery, and we'll be using the presentation for that. So the quick agenda, I will start with the G3 currencies, so the US dollar, Euro, British pound. I'll try to be very concise, try to be very punchy with what we'll be speaking about. I hope that you can see the presentation, and then go to key themes in the market, talk about the most recent events, what has been happening in the Middle East, and so on, to possibly give you some kind of an insight on how those affect the FX market, and then switch to our FX forecast, so to quickly show you what we are expecting from G3 currencies in the following quarters. So let me start with the US dollar, possibly the most traded currency in the whole eBury network throughout the whole world. And what is particularly interesting, particularly important, is although we are talking about G3 currencies, I could also say that we are talking about top 3 best performing G10 currencies, as both British pound, US dollar, and euro are on the top of the G10 performance chart, performing better than Scandinavian, Antipodian currencies, Japanese yen, and so on and so on. So it's a rather good year for most of these currencies. The US dollar actually has been the second best performing major currency in the whole world. So after rallying in the first half of the year, when US dollar was one of the best performing currencies worldwide, the US dollar index sold off in the third quarter. So last 3 months pretty much, we have seen rising Fed rate cut bets, which was key. Markets were expecting a very sharp, very aggressive loosening cycle from the Fed. So a lot of cuts coming in a short period of time, amid expectations of some kind of a slowdown or maybe even a recession. We've seen rather disappointing macroeconomic readings in the third quarter. Most of the job market data was poor. We've also seen PMIs or retail sales data below what markets were expecting, below consensus. So the Fed has actually delivered a jumbo 50 basis points rate cut, so a cut which would normally be a size of 2 standard cuts in September. Markets panicked a bit and the dollar sold off rather sharply, but data published after said meeting, after a jumbo cut meeting, was rather promising. We've seen a very strong non-farm payrolls data, so the most important job market data out of the US. And most other data points are also concise, also intact with our expectations of US markets not going into recession and actually performing relatively well. So that's been sort of a shortcut and a short overview of what has been happening in the US in the last few months or so. as you can see here, GDP growth is still at decent levels. It has slowed down since the peak in 2021. It will most likely slow down further in 2024, 2025. We'll see levels of economic growth lower than what we have observed in last year and so on. But it should still remain at quite a healthy level, around 2%, which is lower than we have observed, but still relatively healthy and far above recession levels. PMI data, this is the most important forward-looking data that we see in the market, suggests no more than a limited slowdown. And Atlanta Fed GDP Now, which is a nowcast, so not really a forecast, but a sort of algorithm created by the Atlanta Fed that shows us what can we expect from the GDP number as based on a lot of different data points, which are, of course, compiled into this one large algorithm. And it shows 2.5% of growth at the current moment, which is a very decent level as for economy that advanced as US is. Going further, we'll speak a bit about Fed rate cuts. We see more cuts in the coming months, of course, and as Fed suggests with its dot plot, a dot plot is a graph with expectations of different members of the rate committee, FOMC. This is the rate committee in the United States, which suggests how the members of the committee see the level of interest rates in the following years. So as Fed, we expect 2 more cuts to happen this year in both November and December, followed by quarterly cuts in 2025. So 1 cut per each quarter. So pretty much 1 cut every second meeting at the next few meetings in the United States. Those expectations, as I've mentioned, are in line with the Fed's dot plot, and a weaker US jobs market might push the Fed to be more aggressive. But as I mentioned before, recent data, recent NFP data, and so on, does not suggest that Fed will indeed need to be that aggressive with loosening. So we'll speak about the economic convergence with the Eurozone, but I think I'll switch to the Euro part right now to maybe connect those 2 parts of the presentation and to make my point even clearer. So Euro has also been performing relatively well, not as well as the dollar. The difference throughout the year to date is around 1% between start of the year, Euro USD, and now. Euro has weakened just a bit, but the second part of the year has been relatively good for the Euro, and we not only attach that to expectations of some kind of weakening in the US economy, but also partial economic convergence between Eurozone and the United States. So to make it a bit easy to understand, we see that although the Eurozone economy is not performing well, it is performing a bit better than last year. It was close to recession, or even in recession not so long ago. Right now, it's just above 0, but that is enough with the slowdown in the United States, some kind of a slowdown, to see that those economies are getting closer to each other in terms of performance. And that, of course, is promising for the Euro, and that is what pushes Euro to the upside in the last few weeks, the last few months or so. The second part is, of course, expectations of interest rates in the next few months, the next few quarters, and that has been crucial as well, particularly as both ECB and Fed cut rates. But this sort of convergence, this sort of closing of the gap between performance of the Eurozone and the United States is really, really important. And as I mentioned, although this gap is closing, we see that the Eurozone economy is not performing particularly well. I think that is clear to every single exporter that is functioning in the European market. We see that not only the industrial sector, but also the services sector is not performing top-notch at the current moment. There's actually a lot that needs to be done. Particularly Germany is the one that is lagging. Forward-looking indicators suggest a slowdown is imminent. So PMIs, as I mentioned, the most important forward-looking data points that we can find, and also sentiment data, so how the consumers are seeing the market at the current moment, are not at particularly high levels. So we see that the situation is in some kind of way improving after near recession levels, but the improvement and the pickup in Eurozone economy is very, very slow and very laggard. Going into monetary policy, ECB is set to cut rates further as Fed is expected to, although we see that the cut in rates in ECB might be a bit slower possibly, as inflation is a bit more stubborn. And looking at United States, the Fed has this sort of dual mandate, so it needs to put focus both on inflation but also on the labor market. As with regards to the ECB, it should be strictly concerned about inflation and concentrated on inflation. So that is one of the main differences between those two central banks, and that might cause Fed to actually cut rates in a bit more aggressive manner than the ECB might do. Although in recent meetings of the ECB, we see President Lagarde to be a bit more dovish and to signal that the cuts will actually come, and we see cuts at least next two meetings from the ECB. Markets sees cuts at each of the 4 next meetings, which might be a bit excessive. And if it indeed is excessive and those 4 cuts will not happen, the euro might gain once again. Let's talk a bit about the British pound, ending the part of the G3 currencies. This will be particularly punchy and short. The British pound is the best performing currency in the G10 group, one of the best performing currencies worldwide, even including emerging markets. There's not many currency that has performed better this year. What is particularly important, the British economy is performing much better than expected. It's actually at quite decent levels historically. The Bank of England is not expected to cut rates at a very sharp rate, at a very aggressive rate. The loosening should rather be quite gradual, and we should see cuts that are happening very, very slow. Furthermore, we've seen, of course, elections in the UK. The Labour Party won by a very large margin, and that was very promising by investors. Investors were very positive about the results, particularly as that is seen to improve European Union ties, which is in some kind of way key after the Brexit. So we see further gains in the British pound of our forecast horizon, and most likely it will be still one of the best performing currencies worldwide. So let's look into some very current events and look into key themes in markets. Of course, US elections, we still see it as a coin toss, one of the most important risk factors for any focus at the current moment. Market reaction so far has been rather limited. We see the implied volatility for 2 months ahead is rather low as compared to what we might have expected. Its impact on the FX market, the elections, is right now very limited, and possibly the closer we get to elections, the more impact this kind of rumor, this kind of discussion will have on not only the US dollar, but pretty much every single currency worldwide. So the effect of a Trump or Kamala Harris win is rather unclear at the current moment. We see that the Trump is very protectionist, sort of this mercantilist approach. So everything inside America, America first approach, very much individualistic, but very much unpredictable, which might cause way higher volatility should Trump win as compared to Kamala Harris win, which is way more predictable. And Kamala Harris' actions should be way more predictable for the markets, which is good in terms of less volatility, but telling us which way will the dollar swing after Trump win, should the Trump win indeed, is particularly difficult at current moment. And we'll be having a separate US elections webinar and a separate US election report. So should you be interested in this topic and want to delve even deeper into what are we seeing, what are we expecting, then I would invite you very much to this webinar. please feel free to message our experts. They will surely pass over the link to the said webinar, which will take place very soon, and the report as well is pretty much ready. Also, China, I think you might have heard some news outside of the Great Wall. What has happened, we've seen a very big announcement out of the PBOC and the China Communist Party, a very broad package of stimulus. So we see further cuts from the PBOC, property sector support, which is very much important. Property sector has been doing very poor in China, and equity market liquidity boost. So pretty much all that's been needed, apart from quite high unemployment rate among the youth. Everything has been in some kind of way amended, although it is yet to be seen whether those promises will be actually realized, and we are waiting for those words to be confirmed by actions. But most of the stock market indexes have skyrocketed. We see that CSI 300 has actually grown by around 30% in a matter of days, which is a very, very sharp growth in this index. This is, of course, good for global economy, for emerging markets. So most of the emerging markets currencies are good for a currency that are dependent on copper, for example, which is used very much in the Chinese industrial sector. A lot of currencies that are based on commodities have actually gained on this announcement. And of course, risk assets in overall rallied, not only in China, but we have seen some rallies in both US, Eurozone stock markets, and so on and so on. Also, last but not least, Middle East tensions. So as you can see, oil prices have increased amidst those tensions. We have seen 300 rockets fired from Iran into Israel, and those tensions have bouts of risk aversion. Markets, investors have turned their back on more risky currencies, so emerging market currencies, and so on and so on, the high beta ones, and have invested more into safe havens. So the US dollar, the Japanese yen, and the Swiss franc, those have gained amid those insecurities among the markets. And the direct involvement of Iran is particularly important, as is the 7th largest oil producer in the whole world. And should the conflict go further, and should we see any problems with oil production, this may, of course, disrupt global chains of oil supplies and may make oil prices go even higher, which is not good for any emerging markets country and pretty much any country in terms of inflation, as inflation would go up. But at the current moment, looking at the fact that Saudi Arabia would be very willing to fill the gap which Iran would leave, we do not see many options in which the markets would go very unstable. And actually, should Israel not react very promptly, very quickly in the next few days or so, this sort of risk of mode will de-escalate, and we might see risk currencies, so Polish zloty and so on, go up a bit again, as this risk, which is still considered quite high in the market, will slowly fade away. So that is how we see the matter at the current moment. Last but not least, as we close in on sort of a 20-minute mark that I had for the presentation, let's look at Ebury FX Focus. On the left, you can see a QR code that will lead you to our latest G3 FX Outlook, our latest report on Euro, British Pound, and the US dollar. So a bit of a more extensive look at those currencies. If you're interested in one of them, feel free to read the report. We try to make it as informative and as easy to read as possible. And Ebury FX Focus for all of those currencies, all of those crosses. As I've mentioned, we see the British pound as one of the best performing currencies in the world for the last 2 years, but we also expect it to strengthen even more in the coming quarters. We also expect the euro to perform relatively well, closing on the economic growth gap on the United States. And we see the US dollar being the worst performing out of the three in the G3 FX outlook. For more insight into the FX markets, that's linked to my LinkedIn. It's strictly for FX markets sort of information, presentations, reports. So you'll find everything that you want here. And of course, if you want to cooperate with our company, if you see it very much useful, feel free to contact my colleagues, Andrzej and Adam. They are very much informative about what they do, and they will surely help you with what you will find problematic about the FX market. That's all from my side. Thank you very much for attention.
Perfect. Thank you, Michał, for your analysis of the global economic outlook and currencies. I guess for our listeners, that information was quite informative, and they will use it. Before we wrap up, I'd like to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. I hope you found the insights from Adam, Andrzej, and Michał helpful in understanding how to navigate the complexities of international payments and currency markets. And a special thanks to Ibori for their partnership with IT Ukraine. All the information and the presentations we'll share with our registered people who attended this webinar. So if you have any additional questions or you need extra help, further assistance, please do not hesitate to reach out. I will also send some contact details of Adam and Andrzej, and we look forward to seeing you at our further events. So I wish you a great day, and I sincerely hope that this webinar was quite informative for you and you will use those insights in your future plans and work abroad. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.